found it. Curiosity drives understanding. At least the second kind. The first kind shortens your life. But this is where it becomes incredibly valuable in just being able to understand. And this leads to the second principle. The second principle is actually education and learning. Now, what do I mean by this? Let me illustrate with a joke to help understand. Is that there was a college student, and he was at the end of the exam, final exam, and what happened is he decided, he's just sitting there in the classroom, he's thinking, and the test was untimed, and all the other students had left, and he's just, oh, what is that? What is it? And the teacher could tell he's struggling. The teacher can really tell, and he's just, finally, the teacher just can't take it anymore, and he goes, what's the matter? And he goes, well, I took everything you said, every pearl of wisdom you ever taught me, and I wrote it all out into 5-page summary. I took that 5-page summary, and then I condensed it to 2 pages. From 2 pages to 1. From 1 to half a page, then to a paragraph, and finally to a single word. I remembered everything you taught me with a single word. And the teacher looks at him and goes, that's just a bunch of baloney. He goes, that's it! That's the word! Now, I share that with this in mind is that, I don't know about you, but have you ever taken a class where basically you were there because you had to be? You were there because the teacher, it was the only one that fit in your schedule and it just fulfilled some requirements. Those types of classes, you know. Any case, you sit there and you get this look on your face like, oh my gosh, I don't know whether I'm sleeping or in a nightmare. But you stand there and you're just like, oh, not all learning is created equally. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a very big proponent of education. For example, here at Hill, if you want to advance your career, if you want to go farther and further than you are now, it's a requirement that in the interviews, basically, it's not hard and fast, but it's pretty much there, that you need a master's degree. You need to be able to move on and show that you've been able to complete a series of things that certify that you are qualified to be in that leadership position. It's just a requirement. It's what I call a check-the-box requirement. They really don't care what your master's degree is in. They don't care where it's from, as long as it's an accredited university. All they care about is they want to know, do you have it? And so once they've got that, you get an instant heads up, like bonus points, if you will, on your interview. But there's also another kind of learning. And that's more of a practical type learning. And what that involves is actually coming to know a little bit more about your area, your job, your function, of what you're supposed to be doing. Those types of like knowledge are actually very valuable. When I worked at another company, I was programming automatic test equipment. And what happened is that first I learned how to use the tester. It was actually pretty cool. It would have little needles, and I controlled every single one of those needles. It was fun. And what happened is, after I learned that, I started to look around at my area, and I saw there was this archaic machine that basically it took anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours to complete a test on a circuit card. And I just said, that's completely inefficient. I'm going to take that on, and I'm going to replace that machine. I made it a goal to kill it. And I did. It took me almost a full year to get through all the circuit cards it was testing. But what happened is that in the process, I learned my area so well that when all new cards were coming through, I was doing about 70% of the volume coming through. People had questions. They always directed them to me. Why? Because in that field, I was the subject matter expert at the automated testing. And now, let me ask you about yourselves. What about your area? What do you know? What do you see that could be beneficial? If you, for example, went to a doctor, and the doctor, as soon as you came in, to the checkout room, what would you call it? The patient room? Whatever, the examination room, there you go. Or on the phone, what happens is that you sit there and you're like, okay, doc, I got a problem. He's all, don't tell me a thing about it. Here, take this and call me in the morning. You'd be like, excuse me? You're like, no, just take it, and I got other things to do. None of us would follow that advice, I would hope. The very first thing you would want to do is you would want to have the doctor investigate, to learn, to understand you personally and your symptoms, and then make a prescription of what should be done and the routine you should follow. The same type of thing applies for our areas and our jobs. Is first, learn to be able to look and learn to see what you could do and how you can make a difference. Become the absolute best you can be. Steve Martin said, be so good they can't ignore you. That's the level that you need to get within your own job. But first, get to that understanding and then see how you can expand outward and be able to help in other ways, in other capacities. And so that's the second principle that I really have to stress. And it's something that makes a big difference in people's lives.